Okay, so I know I said on Twitter like 7 times now, I am done talking about the situation with Lex, but I've seen so much widespread misinformation being spread online that I just felt the need to make a video about it, because I am the type of person that will run my mouth if I see something that I feel like isn't true, even if I should keep my mouth shut. And it's one of those times. Anyway, before we get into the video, I need to preface this as saying that I have been attacked with false accusations of my own in the past. So I understand the weight of false accusations. The type of shit Lex and his ex are throwing around aren't meant to be taken lightly, and I just want to make it clear that I am not doing so. So even if I make some shitty joke, because I like to pretend this is a comedy channel, I am taking this situation seriously. I am not going to be just throwing out random shit because I dislike someone. Anyway, now we're out of the way, we can talk about the question we're all having. Did MrTLexify beat the allegations? So, for this video, I'll be going through Lex's video point by point, starting with the first claim that Reagan sent SBP, Renzaru, and Dig Dug after him.
Everything started in July 2024, where people on Twitter began harassing myself about messaging someone named Alex. I have reason to believe that these were Reagan's minions she sent to do her bidding as she was under cease and desist.
This is just fucking false. This all started because someone was mocking Lex for cheating on his girlfriend. That post went viral, and then someone else noticed, hey, wait a minute. That post said Reagan been dating Lex for 2 years. But 2 years ago, Reagan was a minor, and that's what happened. Reagan wasn't even involved until Lex's initial response where he called out Reagan for also dating a minor. That's when Reagan got involved. I don't know what the point is in trying to, make some conspiracy theory where it's actually Reagan pulling the strings all along, but it's just not true.
Alex was a fan of my channel, who had messaged me first because I momentarily opened my Twitter DMs to the public. Alex was the one who initiated the conversation with me. Our communication included a short Skype call, during which I discussed the abuse I was currently experiencing with my ex-girlfriend Reagan. The conversation was strictly non-sexual and was never taken anywhere inappropriate. Alex was simply a kind fan that I confided in after a heated argument with my ex-girlfriend Reagan. Alex has also come out to admit that she has never accused me of doing anything wrong.
Next up, we have Lex detailing his relationship with Alex, and while nothing illegal here took place, like Alex stated, this is still very strange behavior coming from Lex. Because, according to Lex, he was venting about his personal relationship, which according to him was very abusive, to a 13-year-old fan. So, while Lex did nothing illegal, and not really immoral either from what it sounds like, it's still just fucking weird. As a grown-ass man, you should not be venting about serious topics like abuse to a 13-year-old middle schooler. Their biggest problem should be a fucking, if they're going to get the math class on time, or if Bobby in biology is going to sit next to him or not. Not, oh my god, my favorite YouTuber is in an abusive relationship, how can I help them?
Reagan accused me of messaging minors, which is once again a completely false accusation. When we were not in a relationship together, I was using dating apps like Tinder, Hinge, and Bumble, where the minimum age to join is 18. The age of consent globally on these apps is 18, ensuring that everyone that I communicated with was of legal age. I want to emphasize that I do not specifically target dating 18-year-olds and minors as my ex-girlfriend claims. My current partner, who I've been with for almost a year now, is my age. Reagan even states in her own document that the women I reached out to were all 18. She has no genuine proof of backing her claims of pedophilia, and no proof that I was only messaging 18-year-olds, as many of the women I tried to date were in their 20s. Regarding the video of me circulating, it was sent to verify my identity because a woman I was messaging doubted my authenticity due to me mentioning that I had a career with YouTube in my bio. The video was sent to someone from a local university after we moved the conversation off the dating app so I can confirm myself to her. The app does not allow personalized video or photo exchanges, which is why I'd done this. I never strategically used my career to be with women. It is simply my job. There's no proof of these women I've messaged being underage, as Reagan insinuates, as well as no woman that I've ever messaged on any dating app having ever come forward that I ever messaged them in an inappropriate manner. I joined these apps after breaking up with Reagan, which happened multiple times. During these breaks, I never received confirmation from Reagan that our relationship was over. Instead, Reagan would often ghost me for months at a time and then suddenly return by love bombing me and saying how much she missed me as she was a covert narcissist.
So this section starts out with pretty solid points. The minimum age for dating apps is 18. And while obviously there will be people who sign up for shit before they turn 18, and while I would say it's reckless to just automatically assume everyone on these apps are actually the age they say they are, I wouldn't say it's malicious for Lex to just start DMing people on dating apps with the intent of dating them. Like, I don't think that's him being predatory. Now, this falls apart, however, when Lex says that Reagan has no solid proof that he was allegedly DMing people underage or at the age of 18, which is a lie. There is an image taken on June 3rd, 2023, where you can see a phone text conversation where Lex wishes someone happy birthday. And Lex confirms this text is real in his own fucking video, meaning this is proof right here that Lex is DMing someone who is only a legal adult for 12 hours, and Lex would have been 24 at this point. And again, I'm not saying that's illegal or immoral, you know, you do you, boo, I guess, I don't know, but this is just another example of Lex lying and manipulating facts with his own video, because he claims there's no proof, despite him showing proof as he says it. Now, one thing I will say about Reagan is I highly, highly doubt she took these pictures on Lex's phone for the reason she claims, which is the intent of, you know, confronting him. I believe she took these photos to blackmail Lex, which is why she saved them. And why she didn't say anything for a fucking year until Lex called her out first. There was absolutely zero proof that any of the girls Lex has dated besides Reagan has been underage. Lex then goes on to play a YouTube video of a dude, like, describing what a covert narcissist is, and, like, yeah, Reagan seems to check every box, but that doesn't make her allegations mean less.
One of the clear breaks in our relationship was in September 2021 when she told me she wanted to pursue someone named Lawrence. She was already cheating on me with him months prior as evidence of this Instagram photo. I first learned about Lawrence's true age of 17 when I found her diary that detailed her cheating on me as an adult when we were in a relationship earlier that year. Reagan did this simply because I had tried messaging other women to escape this relationship. Reagan later stated that Lawrence's parents had kicked her out of his house and called the police on her when they discovered Reagan was lying about her age. Reagan targeted Lawrence, who was a minor. I was disgusted by her actions and tried to contact Lawrence's parents, but I was unsuccessful. She had a history of cheating on me, and I was only ever made aware that she cheated on me with 2 people, 1 Lawrence and 2 Marlo. All this cheating started because she found a photo in summer 2018 of me next to a female tour guide in Thailand. She was furious about this image as she thought that I had cheated on her, so Reagan then cheated on me with Marlo in November 2018. Just this last month, I was told anonymously that she had been cheating on me with 5 underage boys from her high school throughout our relationship. She lured them into my place in Los Angeles to take promiscuous photos of her in exchange for sex.
Now, here's where things get real icky, and I want to say in the strongest terms possible, fuck Reagan. Because she's also weird as fuck for dating a 17-year-old as a 20-year-old. And then, as a 21-year-old. And like Lex said, we have concrete proof that this is her because Reagan admitted herself that the diary was hers. The problem here is Lex also throws around the claim that Reagan had been dating multiple minors and paid them with sex for taking photos of her in risque positions. Lex at no point shows a single shred of evidence to back up this claim beyond the fact that a random person on Twitter DM'd him. And what's even worse is in the DM that Lex does show, the person doesn't even say directly she's dating minors. It says Lex had cheated on her with boys from her high school, which could very well mean people she went to fucking high school with. This entire segment starts to fall flat because instead of just sticking with what is provable, Lex starts throwing out baseless claims that have no proof, and it starts to throw his entire credibility in the doubt when he does shit like this. Lex would then move on to his next segment, which shows Reagan being a piece of fucking shit to him whenever his dog passed away, which is not cool at fucking all. He also then proves it was his fault, her fault that his account got hacked, which is, while not a claim she made in her document, does disprove a claim Reagan made in a Twitch stream that Lex lost his YouTube account because he clicked on a spam link for a porn bot or something. I don't exactly remember what it was, but it's just something dumb like that. Anyway, no matter what the allegation was, that's false. Lex also shows proof that Reagan was indeed blackmailing and extorting him, and again, while this doesn't mean the allegations against Lex are wiped away, it does prove that Reagan isn't doing this for some noble cause. and that this means the evidence from Reagan needs to be held to a higher standard before being accepted as fact.
Reagan had shared her made-up side of the choking incident in her Part 2 Google document. In reality, the situation happened much differently. While we were at the Airbnb in Coronado, California, Reagan saw that I had texted other women on my phone, as she would not allow me to leave the relationship since she threatened my career. I could not leave this situation, as I was broke and away from my home country of Canada, and I had spent $12,000 on an Airbnb that I could not refund. Reagan went into a manic episode and broke a wooden board on my back and then started destroying the Airbnb. Reagan says she was using marijuana, which is not at all possible, as Airbnb hosts do not allow drug use on their property. The Airbnb host, Victor, even questioned why it looked like someone had repeatedly stabbed the walls, which were damages from Reagan that I had to pay for. Victor never mentioned anything about marijuana at all.
Well, now while we'll go back and play the clip in full, I quickly want to respond to the allegation being made by Lex here. The Airbnb not allowing drugs so Reagan couldn't have been smoking weed is one of the stupidest things I fucking heard. I mean, to all the people out there watching, and to Lex himself, how many times have you went to a hotel that is strictly no smoking and it reeks of cigarette smoke? People do not give a fuck if you tell them not to smoke. And especially weed, where if you open some windows, the smell will mostly be gone in a few hours anyway. It doesn't really linger like cigarette smoke does.
In an act of self-defense, I had to restrain her to prevent further property damage and physical harm to myself as my life was under threat. This was not the only incident of physical abuse from Reagan, as a month prior she decided to bite my face for once again looking through my phone and thinking I was cheating. Reagan's claim of her biting me after us play fighting is completely false and makes no sense. I took this photo and applied a bandage by myself, as Reagan was not even in the room and was still furious at me for assuming that I had been with another girl, which was false. She would always get physical whenever I tried to escape the relationship.
So there was proof to this claim, as Lex showed messages from him and Reagan where he mentions that he was slapped and bitten Reagan, and instead of Reagan going, "Wait, no, that didn't happen," she just moves on because it happened.
The second incident was staged, as evidenced by her Part 2 document where she admitted she would delete this choking video if I provided her with a boob and nose job. Reagan woke me up at 5 a.m. and physically assaulted me after looking through my phone and seeing text messages of mine with other girls. The physical abuse was so bad that I had to self-defend and restrain her to get her away from me. Once again, keep in mind, we were not dating, and I was solely there to get my belongings and help her move into a new place. This was after I figured out Reagan was cheating on me with a minor. Reagan did this to ensure that I would keep paying for her and her new apartment. I was so broke, I could not even get a hotel that night. My only option was to sleep at her place. Despite Reagan's claim that unfortunately that her phone wasn't recording, she still threatened me that she would release this video if I did not continue to pay for her rent, lifestyle, and surgical procedures. In regards to the photo of her bruised leg, these photos are fake, as at the time we were moving from one apartment complex to another. Reagan claims this event took place on June 6, 2023, with the photo being taken on June 7, 2023. I had taken a picture of movers spending the entire day and night on June 6th, the supposed event of physical abuse, moving our stuff from her old apartment into the new one. On June 7th, we were also not in our old place where she took this photo of her bruised leg. There was no time for any of these accusations to have taken place, and if something did occur, the movers would have noticed. Reagan was in 3 separate car accidents in Los Angeles during 2022 to 2023. These bruises were from these car accidents when we lived in our old apartment where I was not in the car at the time. Reagan had also messaged a fan of hers regarding why the bruise was there in a Twitter post in 2023, which she has now deleted. She also has Instagram evidence of her showing that bruise in a photo in 2022 before this incident could have ever occurred. The photo of her bruise does not make sense, as this could not happen from her claim of me kneeling on her. This bruise looks like a high-impact car crash.
Now, while Lex is mostly right about the bruise not appearing in other images from around that time, there are some claims here that also just doesn't make sense. Like Lex saying the movers would have noticed the bruise on her leg, which is like, pants are a thing, bro. And secondly, the bruise that Lex shows in his video to prove that Reagan had that bruise months ago, it's not on the same leg. Here in this picture, the bruise is on her right side of her right leg, but in Ren's photo, the bruise is on the left side of her left knee. The bruises just also don't match up entirely. Well, again, I'm not saying for a fact this happened, as Reagan's will doesn't mean shit. There's Instagram posts around the time that she doesn't have any bruises on her neck, and I still think the bruise doesn't really look like a kneeing bruise. It's still worth noting that Lex's evidence doesn't really line up either. Lex also makes up the claim here that Reagan had allegedly driven Lawrence in attempting his own life, and provides absolutely zero proof for this claim. While the claim would not be unbelievable due to Reagan's other actions, putting this very personal detail that does not involve Lex with no proof or permission from Lawrence is fucking disgusting. Anyway, Lex would eventually move on to finally address the allegations of him grooming her.
She explained how she sent me the groping video in 2020, saying how she thought it was so cute and how she loved that we did that together. There's proof of her lying, saying that she wanted to turn 18, how the only way for us to work was for her to lie also about her age, and also how she says she wouldn't have sex in 2018 because it's illegal, almost like you have proof of you saying you'd wait until December 13th until you were legal. Here's also more proof about how she would fantasize about me before we even knew each other and cry about me, how she said she was in love with me before I even knew her. How about you saying you were a virgin in 2020? Or how about you saying you'd love lying to people that you were 16? What about admitting to me you orgasmed to me about my streams when you were 14? Or how you'd ask me to be your boyfriend again in December 2017 after we had separated? How about you telling me you were happy you found your daddy at 15 before I even knew you, or you wanting us to live together when we didn't in 2017, or you claiming you wanted to do cocaine at 16, or maybe even claiming that the daddy kink was yours and not mine? How about you admitting you lied about your underage age and how it still didn't do you justice? Or how about you admitting you regret taking things slow with me in 2017 when I told you I wanted to wait and you were completely obsessed with me? Or how about you saying you knew you wanted me at 15, or even me admitting that I just wanted to be your best friend instead of in a sexual relationship multiple times, yet you were the one that wanted to be a little, which is something I did not want to partake in. Lastly, how about all this proof, even after all of this, that you still wanted me despite your claims of finding me repulsive? This woman has lied to the public so many times, I don't even know how to keep track of it anymore, and how you literally admit you'd flex my gifts on your Instagram because you love them and not because I use them to get a service out of you, or even how you admitted you wanted to invite your own friends who bought your drugs to my place.
This right here is a load of bullshit. It doesn't matter if Reagan was the one initiating the relationship or not. It doesn't matter if Reagan was into it. Hell, it doesn't even matter if Reagan was still dating you and loved you. Because Lex, at the end of the day, that's still a fucking minor. Your responsibility, not just as an adult, but as a content creator, is to shut that shit down. A lot of people are bringing up the age gaps being small, saying, oh, it's just that 2 years, it's not that bad. But that's not the majority of the problem. Yes, part of the issue is that Reagan was underage, but also the fact that she was an obsessed fangirl. There was an undeniable power dynamic at play here, which what makes this truly fucking repulsive. And it doesn't matter how much she was into you, or how the minor fucking seduced you, you freak. What matters in the end is that you said yes. That you still agreed to date a 16-year-old when you were 18. That there was a video of you at the age of 19 groping a 16-year-old. Anyone who tries to defend this needs to be thrown into a bottom of a fucking pit and have the FBI go through their hard drive.
There is also a serious claim where I'd raped my ex-girlfriend, Reagan. The statement made by her is completely inappropriate and false. I can absolutely, without a doubt, confirm that everything intimate we did together was consensual and of age. There is absolutely no real proof showing otherwise.
Ren had evidence in her doc that Lex doesn't address that proves this is an absolute lie. So not only is there the groping video where Reagan was absolutely not of age, and we know this to be 2017, Reagan also posted a picture of her and Lex naked in bed together, in a time that she would have been underage. And while I will not be posting this, as I do not feel comfortable posting something that is borderline CP in my video, it's in our first document if you really need to verify it.
As well, in all the photos she took of us during this completely terrible time, it would not make sense as to why a supposed victim of rape would then take multiple photos and videos with their abuser being happy and smiling.
This claim is also so incredibly stupid, and it shows either a lack of understanding from Lex, or just another case of him trying to be manipulative. The claim of, If she was an abused victim, why did she take pictures of us happy is so fucking disingenuous, it makes my head want to explode. It's been proven multiple times that psychologically, victims will always make excuses for their abusers and remain attached to them, even if they're being abused. It can take years for a victim of abuse to finally be free of their abuser. Her being happy in photos and taking pictures does not disprove that she's a victim. By that same logic, Lex, why are you happy in photos of her? Why are you taking photos of you two together, even though you claim to be a victim? Her being happy in photos does not disprove she's a victim. And while you cannot prove that she is a victim either, it's disgusting for Lex to try to make that point in his favor.
Reagan also then proceeded to post these photos and videos on social media. I had told her that I did not want photos of us on my Instagram because I had felt we were too young at the time, which she got absolutely furious about. Reagan had a kink in regards to the word rape and had a tendency in throwing it around a lot, which can be seen in her diary and multiple text messages. Reagan's accusation of grooming is once again utterly false. The only reason Reagan started calling me a groomer was when she started cheating on me with Lawrence. Reagan had told Lawrence that Lex was an adult and Reagan was a minor when we first met, which is also false. Lawrence used this information as an attempt to get her to expose me for financial gain. She had never once called me a groomer or a pedophile until she met Lawrence. She constantly used these fake ideas Lawrence gave her as a way to manipulate me when she did not get what she wanted. This is evident in Reagan's tweets, where she repeatedly posted how she wanted to share her story throughout the years after 2021 when Reagan and Lawrence met. While she was publicly hinting at exposing me, Reagan privately demanded money and threatened to expose me on Twitter if I did not comply. Her sole purpose was to scare me into giving her money by using these words as a threat to destroy my career. I knew I did nothing wrong, and I always tried to show her love.
So while Lex once again proves that Reagan is not doing this for justice, but because she was scorned and that she's not a good person, Lex's statement of, "I know I did nothing wrong," is fucking false. Because if you knew you did nothing wrong, then why was you so against YouTube being posted on Instagram? Why haven't you told your best friends the truth about you and Reagan to this day?
I attempted multiple times to tell Reagan's mother about these scenarios and even tried to explain that our relationship could not have been statutory rape as everything was handled legally. It was not because I committed this crime that I was explaining this to her, it's because I was clarifying what she believed had happened, which did not occur. This fear is why I continued to give her money and why she never officially filed a police report. It was all to extort my online image.
Again, this seems true. Reagan wanted to extort Lex, and Lex is legally now in the clear since it's been over 5 years.
Another serious accusation against me is that I groped my ex-girlfriend at a Z-House party. The video she cites as evidence is misleading, as we were already in a public consensual relationship, which can be seen in numerous social media posts where she is showing me off and bragging about how much she loves being in a relationship with me.
This is Lex once again trying to lie and mislead the narrative. Lex is trying to paint the video as being taken during the 2021-2022 time period when they were a public and consensual relationship, which is once again false. This video was taken in 2017, which you can tell by Lex's fucking rainbow hair, which she had in 2017. Lex also states that Reagan initially lied to him about his age, and even then being the case, when he found out she was lying about her age, he should have cut contact with her then. And not get in a relationship with her because she was still a minor and he was over the age of 18.
Nobody at the Z-House ever witnessed any sexual abuse, as this simply did not occur. This includes the oral rape accusation that never happened. Reagan, who was coherent and filming these videos, was seen laughing and sticking her tongue out and recording these videos happily. She has provided no proof or documentation of any discomfort and then later asked when she could come and see me again. During the Z-House party, when my friends first met Reagan, she had asked me to lie about her age. As seen in photos, she would constantly lie to people about her age and even admitted that when we first met, she lied and told me that she was 16. She also found it hot AF to date older guys and stated that at a young age, she knew she wanted to be with an older man. Reagan never mentioned having a problem with our 2-year age gap relationship. It is very important to note that when my friends first met Reagan, Reagan had asked me to lie to them about her age. She even lied to me about her age. Her claim that I used an escape room passport to lie to my friends about her age is entirely false. She was the one who forged her own passport with her own fake ID, and I had told her to go outside and not participate in the escape room as it was 18 and over. Reagan decided to lie to join the escape room. Reagan had never used this to prove anyone about her age, contrary to her claims.
Okay, here I will give Lex credit, okay? He did actually debunk a point. He did not make the passport, and he was not behind the passport.
Pat, or TheSmithPlays, had stated in his response that I had been hiding why I went to my cousin's, but this is not true. I did go to my cousin's, but I also did see Reagan as well.
So let's break down what Lex just said right here. Pat claims I lied when I said I was visiting my cousin. Truth is, I was only partially lying. I visit my cousins and Reagan. I'm about to make a really weird reference here, okay? Has anyone ever seen To Catch a Predator? Well, one of the predators on the show, who I assume is named Mario, was basically tried to pull the exact same card that Lex was pulling.
My excuse to come here, I went to Atlantic City.
So why'd you need the cover story to go to Atlantic City?
I'll see my brother.
Yeah, but who did you have to give that to as a cover story?
No, my brother is home, my other brother.
Right.
And I said, I gotta go to Atlantic City.
But instead you came here.
I stopped by to go there.
So you like to gamble?
Yeah, I love to gamble.
You took a little bit of a gamble coming in here tonight.
He said he was going to visit his brother, but on the way, he stopped by a miner's house, so that was technically not a lie. Lex directly taking from the To Catch a Predator handbook is certainly a choice.
Reagan also claims that I lured her in with gifts, which is entirely false. She was the one begging to come to the house and see me, as all her gifts were requests that I had purchased for her since we were in a relationship. In Reagan's Google document, she lied about me forcing Kinks onto her. Reagan requested to be called by these Kinks. She fantasized about being a little and calling me daddy. These were all her own personal kinks that she wanted me to participate in. Reagan also stated how she blamed me for her lack of education, which is false. The evidence shows that she bought marijuana underage to skip school, which is a situation that I had no involvement in, as I was not even in the country. Another important thing to mention is that Reagan was an obsessive fan of mine. She fetishized me before I even knew who she was. I never used my influence to engage with her. She was the first person to message me and enact any sort of a relationship. The claim that she was not interested in doing intimate things with me and felt repulsed while we were in a consensual public relationship is just completely false. Reagan was the one begging me for intimacy, even when I had told her that I wanted to wait and not rush anything as we were so young.
And again, see the point from earlier. It doesn't matter that she was the one that initiated the situation, Lex. Your responsibility is to say no. And while you might have not initially used your influence on her, you still did, because like you said before, she was an obsessed fan before she met you. You had influence over her, not just because of your age, but because you were her favorite YouTuber.
I would like to apologize to anybody that has been affected by the situation in a negative manner. Specifically, I would like to formally apologize to Pat, or TheSmithPlays, and everyone involved at the Z House, where Reagan made me lie about her age to you. There was never any sexual assault, sexual abuse, or rape that happened during this time. I'd also like to apologize to Merc Music and Corinna, as I was not talking about them being minors, but them being engaged, since the message Reagan had used was taken out of context. However, I would like to state, Pat, that I did send you a message privately on your Twitter before you made this statement public, in which you saw, but you chose not to respond and hear my side of events and Reagan's roommate's side of events. You not wanting to hear anything I had to say and painting my ex-girlfriend in a benevolent light when there's evidence of her clearly being a pedophile was a direct punch to my gut after calling you my best friend for many years. You had said you had looked at all the evidence, but conveniently skipped out on how Reagan is a definitive pedophile proven by her own diary and words. I don't want to hear about a lack of trust where nothing bad happened when you did not listen to Noah's ex-wife Martina about Noah's scandalous behavior in 2021, which did not allow for a third Z House to happen. Noah invited all of us to Texas in September 2021 for a third Z House, yet nothing was ever filmed because Noah cheated on Martina in 2021 at EDC, and you and JC were utterly supportive of him in Texas, even inviting him to cry at our own Airbnb without my consent. It boggles my mind that you would be supportive of a man who blatantly cheated on his wife for fun, yet would not share the same sentiment to me when I was obviously in an abusive relationship that I could not escape from. JC and Noah are not exempt from this either. I had moved to the same apartment complex as JC in 2022 and even shared about my abuse with him, and he did absolutely nothing and actively avoided me. This is why you unfollowed me on Twitter 2 years ago. Noah had also said he would visit me but never came to my place once. JC, you couldn't even spend 10 minutes to sign a recommendation letter for my visa after all we've done together over the years. If you want to trust my ex-girlfriend so much, here's a post Reagan made about seeing you cheat on Emmy with her sister Kate at Coachella. Everybody in our group saw your inexcusable actions and were utterly shocked that you would be sensually touching your girlfriend's sister in front of all of us while Emmy was not there. I don't think PlayStation Studios wants to associate with a cheater who defends pedophiles such as my ex-girlfriend Reagan. I guess it makes sense considering Noah also invites pedophiles to his own DJ sets. This is incredibly disingenuous of all of you and makes sense why each of you would side together and defend my pedophilic ex-girlfriend while never contacting me once and dropping me at the whim of a hat. Things have never been the same with me and any of these original zombie YouTubers since this point in time, and I will never be working with them ever again.
Now, here's when things really start to go off the rails. We'll once again go point by point. Starting with Pat. Lex is upset that Pat not only didn't respond to Lex's comments, but didn't believe his side of the story, despite him saying just seconds before that he had directly lied to Pat's face for the last 7 years. Why in the blue hell would Pat believe a word you said after that? And in Pat's response, he also states that he knows Lex better than any of us and that Lex has a repeated history of lying. It's completely insane for Lex to believe he has any right for Pat to hear him out after that. He also goes on to call Rin a pedophile because she was 17 dating a 20-year-old, and while I don't disagree, by that same logic, what the fuck are you, Lex? Because you was 20 dating a 17-year-old Rin, so, what's the math here, bud? And he goes on to expose the fact that Noah J cheated on his wife for no reason other than a shallow attempt to deflect criticism off of him and back onto the people who weren't sucking him off. Noah cheating on his wife changes nothing about this incident. He also tries to paint them as being indifferent to Lex's situation at the time, while being utterly supportive of Noah without proving a single screenshot. Next, in his conversation with JC, he cuts up what he said to him first, and even then, you can see him trying to paint the DMs in a completely different context. Here, where he tries to show JC saying, I don't care about Reagan in a negative light, like JC is saying he doesn't care about his friend's situation, if you read the full thing and use your brain, you can tell that in the context of what happened, JC is saying he doesn't care about Reagan as a person, and is unhappy his best friend is once again going and dating their abusive, toxic ex, which is understandable. I think if most of us had a friend who kept going to this person who hurt them over again and over again, we will be mad if they did it again. The next claim, though, is what caused a lot of controversy on Twitter, and it seems like not even the brain-dead audience that supports Lex even understood what he was saying here. Now, while Lex does start off the conversation by saying, if you want to believe my ex so much, how about this? He quickly shifts this into a legitimate allegation being thrown to JC by saying everyone in our group saw your inexcusable actions. He then goes on and tries to get JC's job taken away after calling him a cheater and saying he defends pedophiles. Once again, you fucking moron, what does that make you? He also brings up that allegedly Noah invited Minilad to his DJ booth, which Noah disproved in his stream, saying the DJ booth was open to everyone and it was not a private event, so you could just walk the fuck in, which, if you watch the entire stream, does seem to line up with what Noah said. What's more interesting, though, is the fact that Lex brings up the point about Minilad, despite the fact that Lex was actually following Minilad just a few weeks ago, and he actually had liked posts from him in 2023. So, according to Lex, being in the same room as Minilad, it's bad. But following and liking his posts is not bad and good.
Here are some brief points that were shared on Twitter that I would like to discuss. Occasionally, while Reagan and I were in different countries, we would send each other care packages, which included cards and gifts. However, the letters Reagan shows of mine are all typed and have been forged by her to further defame my image. She claims that my company name on the bottom of these letters was edited.tv, which is completely false. If you actually go to the website, the LLC name is Velvet Platform LLC and not edited.tv co.
I do want to piggyback off this though and actually give another reason why this is fake. The letter is allegedly from April 18th, 2021. But Lex didn't even have the fucking name of Edit TV until like late 2021 from what I've heard. And the Twitter account for the name didn't even exist until March of 2022. How would Lex be fucking signing off with his company that he didn't even have yet?
I also bookmarked controversial tweets that I wanted to discuss with personal friends privately. Reagan had also said that the birth control was her wanting to buy it herself, contrary to her saying that I had forced her to purchase it. The text message of Reagan alleging myself calling her my minoring is false, as proven by people finding the 5G symbol on the phone when this was not invented at the time of the screenshot. I could also not find any of this on my own phone.
No, well, I also kind of believe the minoring screenshot is fake, just simply from the fact that Lex doesn't seem to type like this. I want to say that Lex's point about it not being able to, 5G not being existed, is kind of dumb because the picture wasn't taken then. It was taken from how the document presents it from in the 2021, 2023 when she took the other photos on Lex's phone. Meaning 5G would have very much existed at the time. And then obviously Lex saying couldn't find the image on his phone is like dumb because like, yeah, if you could, you wouldn't show it anyway, so okay.
Reagan says that I bought her marijuana paraphernalia, which goes directly against my evidence of her friends purchasing this for her. Reagan had told me that I rehired Don, but she was the one who told me to rehire him. Also, Don was originally Noah's editor, so I'd appreciate it if people were to stop blaming me for somebody else's actions.
He also then brings up the Don, and I just want to say, Lex, as one of the main people involved in the Don drama, no one was blaming you for the Don's actions. People were blaming you for your reaction, for not firing the Don after his first sexist tirade in October, and then not actually firing the Don after he talked about trans people killing themselves, and having him as an uncredited mod and editor for your channel until 2022 when he personally offended you by making a Ukrainian joke. That's what people blame you for, Lex. No one blames you for Don being sexist or for Don being transphobic. People blame you for associating and supporting with him after that came out.
And as a fun fact, Reagan, I also never weighed 250 pounds, and I have no clue how anyone could spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on OnlyFans. I don't even make that much money.
Lex definitely was not spending hundreds of thousands on OnlyFans. But okay, Lex, we see the screenshots, we see the proof. You were spending some money on OnlyFans. That's undeniable.
I would also like to publicly clarify that I'm not using Christianity as an excuse for me using self-defense and messaging other women. Having attended Christian schools throughout my entire life and leaving only after high school to focus on my YouTube career, my return to Christianity was deeply personal and rooted from a challenging experience I had in 2022. At this time, with all the lies, extortion, and mental abuse I endured from my ex-girlfriend, which was also severely and negatively damaging my mental health, one night at the top of my old apartment building, the pain I was living in was too much, and which brought me to the brink of a very tragic and permanent decision. It was during this incredibly emotional time that I had rediscovered my faith. I'd like to apologize to anyone that felt that I used Christianity to justify my past relationship and for any derogatory comments I may have made. The constant allegations that have been blindly thrown at me over the past few weeks have caused my family to have admitted me to the hospital for suicidal ideation, which is another factor as to why I'm uploading this late. I dealt with thousands of people telling me to kill myself and calling me a pedophile for a 2-year age gap relationship, and the constant humiliation from the entire world knowing my private relationship, which is exactly what my ex wanted from this. Having over 150 million people see my most private and degrading Snapchat conversation with her is genuinely one of the least hurtful things I've experienced from her consistent abuse.
I will say it's hard to hear this, and I do genuinely feel bad for Lex here. Again, I know beating a dead horse here, but Lex defending himself being in a relationship that was 2 years and 8 months apart, and then calling Reagan a pedophile multiple times in the same video for a very similar age gap. You just can't like this shit. Either she's a pedophile or not, Lex. Make up your fucking mind.
That Snapchat conversation's sole purpose was to show that I have nothing to hide and that Reagan is confirming she is targeting a minor, being Lawrence. No qualified professional lawyers or police I have spoken to would identify the evidence against me provided by Reagan McNulty as pedophilia, grooming, or abuse. She could not prove anything about her allegations, and if there ever was a real problem, I'm confused as to why she didn't contact the police. I first got the law involved in 2022 with an official police report in LA regarding a random stranger physically assaulting me because of Reagan verbally assaulting him. In 2023, I got a cease and desist and tried to keep this relationship drama private. I've also gotten multiple lawyers involved with different specialties in regards to this case with an official police report filed in Canada against her in 2024. Reagan has never once filed the police report even after all of these situations. She tormented me, extorted me, then publicly slandered and humiliated me. These aren't the actions of a victim.
So there's a point to be made here about how shitty the criminal system is, and how, according to Rain, out of every 1,000 cases of sexual assault, only 300 are reported to the police and only 25 rapists go to prison. And why would a victim go to, the police? We already know that Reagan specifically didn't go to the police for darker reasons, like wanting to extort Lex. So the point's kind of moot, but Lex using this as a gotcha moment doesn't work, because even if Reagan didn't want to extort Lex, there were valid and legitimate reasons why a genuine victim of sexual assault would not want to come forward because of the way the US and UK, by the way, that's pretty shit too, criminal system is set up.
Why has Reagan done this? Potentially for her new OnlyFans and Passes account, she has started to gain more financial income.
No, Lex, the reason Reagan did this was because you dragged her into the drama. Again, this all started with your fucking Transit Remastered video and people feeling like you was defending a scammer. People were mocking you and found the public post about you two. It wasn't Reagan directing the fire at you, it was you. You started all of this. If you just kept your mouth shut doing Transit Remastered and not give your take on a situation that didn't involve you, you would have been fucking fine. If you didn't try to say Reagan was a pedophile and just said that's not true, you would have been fucking fine. But you kept digging a hole and making it worse for yourself. Yeah, Reagan's a piece of shit. Yeah, Reagan did this because you wasn't paying her off anymore. But she didn't start this, Lex. You did. You just gave her the opportunity to do this.
It was my fault for forgiving her every time and letting her manipulate me, my family, and my friends. After I noticed what she was doing, I no longer felt comfortable seeing her or providing money, as can be seen in the text of my previous document. I'd like to formally apologize to everyone who was constantly telling me to leave this relationship with her, and I never listened to you. If these accusations have tainted your perception of me, I understand and wish you nothing but the best. As to the transit drama, what part of I do not condone Danny's actions said in that video proves that I am going to be supporting him? I've only ever wanted the best for anyone ever involved in any situation that I have ever been in. I'd like to conclude this video with a suicide hotline prevention number and a domestic violence/abuse hotline for anyone who has ever gone through or is going through a similar situation. I would also like to thank every single individual who reached out privately to me during such a critical time. Your input mattered more than you could ever imagine. Reagan, you are a manipulative, liar, cheater, and abuser. You've not only extorted myself, but also your own roommate. If you don't want to believe my story, that is your choice. No amount of evidence or anything I could show proof of will ever show the true extent of how badly this past relationship negatively affected my life. I do not understand how someone so vile could be trusted. I urge anyone who chooses to support Reagan McNulty or pure softy in the long run to not also fall victim and make the same mistakes I did in forgiving and falling for all her lies and constant manipulation.
So, ignoring the disgusting ending of Lex going, "God will give me justice," now that we sat through the entire video, we can finally ask the question, did Lex beat the allegation? Kind of? While there was very little he definitively disproved, he was able to provide enough proof to call into question most of the allegations around him, like him sexually assaulting Reagan at the Z House and abusing her, and it seems more likely than not it was fake. He also disproved that he didn't spend hundreds of thousands on OnlyFans, and it wasn't his fault his YouTube got hacked. And he disproved that he had targeted other girls who were underage, but that's really it. He confirmed once again in this video he did date an underage fan. And while he claims that age gap wasn't too bad, going by his logic with Reagan and Lawrence, he's a pedophile. Personally, I think both are bad people, but that's just me. He also proved that while he wasn't doing anything illegal with Alex, he was still venting about a very personal and serious situation to a 13-year-old fan, which is peak weirdo behavior. And then his attempts to deflect the situation on Pat, JC, and Noah felt hollow and was just a shitty way to steer the conversation off of him. Overall, I think nearly every person involved in this story is a piece of shit. Despite the fact he never should have been brought into this, Noah's a piece of shit for cheating on his wife, and his apology was Logan Paul levels of bad. And it's fucking wild to me that people were more mad at him than the motherfucker who dated a minor. Reagan is an abusive, toxic, lying, manipulative piece of shit who only came forward to save her own image after Lex tried to bring her down. And while that doesn't make every statement she made a lie, it means any statement she makes going forward needs to be met with a higher burden of proof. And no one should really be fully supporting her. And then finally, Lex. Most of what I just said could equally apply to about Reagan could equally apply to Lex. Out of the 33-minute video, he spent 20 minutes of it lying and manipulating his audience, trying to minimize what actions he did do and deflect the anger of the community on others. And while Lex did disprove a few allegations, like I said earlier, with each additional lie he added, it made him look less credible. And honestly, Pat and JC are the only people in the situation that I think aren't actually all that bad. Lex had lied to Pat multiple times over the years, and Pat had absolutely zero reason to believe what Lex says at face value. And even with what allegations will be already proven false by Lex, I still think Pat was in the right to distance himself and responsible for ending their friendship. I personally would have just waited for Lex's statement just so the entire situation was over before I spoke, but I still probably would have done the same as Pat. And then JC. The only two people who have claimed that JC was cheating on his girlfriend with her sister has been Lex and Reagan, whose words should be taken very fucking lightly, especially with both having a reason to lie. Reagan because JC and his girlfriend hated her and didn't like her, and she's been shown to lash out at people for less, and Lex to get the heat off his back and to try to burn his friend in retaliation for not defending him. However, this entire situation could have been avoided if Lex just said no to dating the minor.